Peace, y'all. My name is MC Jin, and I am one of the first Asian Americans to sign a major record deal with a rap label. Rough Riders!
Join the Asian American Foundation and Wongfu Productions as we tell the stories of trailblazers who shaped American culture.
In the early 2000s, there weren't many visible Asian Americans in hip-hop. Then a young Chinese American from Miami stepped onto BET's Freestyle Friday, started battling rappers bar for bar on national television.
If you make one joke about racial karate, NYPD be in Chinatown searching for your body.
For a lot of Asian American kids obsessed with hip-hop, myself included, Jin's run became bigger than entertainment. Proof that maybe we could participate too. Not because diversity suddenly mattered, but because in hip-hop, if your skills were undeniable, respect could still be earned. Jin's winning streak eventually led to a deal with the Rough Riders and a debut album featuring producers like Kanye West and Wyclef Jean, but his impact went far beyond music. Today, we're in New York City to talk with Jin about identity, faith, legacy, and the journey that followed after history was made.
Here we go again, man.
Here we go
What
again.
up,
That
yo?
is right. That is right. You know, I had to rock Tim's for you specifically.
Of course.
One of the things that a lot of people don't quite grasp is how young you were.
I was 19.
Time. That's what I mean. Like you was a kid. I kind of want to rewind back to your story of starting off in Miami.
Miami
Sac
is a lot of sac passe, a lot of que paso, all of it, right?
Yeah.
Not a lot of not that much Cantonese actually.
Right.
The number one thing that I would face head on during those earlier days was, yo, Jin, why you trying to be black? It just pointed out like that, right? From all sides. My pops would be like, did we bring the wrong kid home? Right? Like, who is this? Who is this kid, right? You know, it wasn't until I got older and getting into the game and being on this platform and being dissected where I did have to start to look at like, yo, what is my identity? Am I more American or more Chinese, or am I more this, less that? And that's where it might have slowly crept in later in the game. Yeah.
And how did rapping or freestyling or battling, where did this fascination and obsession come from?
The first time that I ever witnessed it was in a movie. There's a movie called Breakin'. In the movie, there is glimpses of battle rap, and they're just going back and forth. And I'm watching it, and I'm just like, this is really fascinating. First time I was in a battle rap scenario, I didn't even know that I was in it. I was in the cafeteria at school.
That's what I figured.
Cafeteria at school.
Somebody called you out.
He started coming for me, the guy.
Yeah. Do you remember the lines that he, threw at you?
It was something related to fried rice. Something like, nobody want to hear you, you not nice. Man, this is a cafeteria, go back and make some fried rice, or something like that. I can't think of like any type of response or rebuttal or retort, no way, because I didn't even understand the art of the battle yet. Now, the key to this whole anecdote is, as he's coming for me, this guy, this unknown guy, everybody's in hysterics. Once I was like, oh, that's all this is? Man, I would say no more than 2 or 3 cafeteria sessions later, I'm cooking everybody. And then that I would say, is the birth of what everyone ultimately saw on 106 in Park. I was literally known as the Chinese kid that raps. They'd be like, yo, you know about that Chinese kid that raps? And they might not know the name, but everybody was like, yo, that Chinese kid, he be rapping.
During this moment, because I feel like when you want to jump into a career of being a rap artist, before you hopped on 106 in Park and had your historic run and eventually flashed that Rough Riders chain, you probably never seen anybody that looked like you who was on the radio.
That magnitude. I know beyond the Mountain Brothers, there were tons of Asian rappers before me.
They're participants, yes.
Participants, active, with deals of all scales. My humble flex is, although I am not the first, I can't stand in the fact that I think prior to me, nobody did it in the manner that I did it. Just even the notion that to this day, someone will say to me, yo, you're the first Asian person I ever seen rapping. Like, I know Asians that are hip hop heads but I've never seen anybody like you. I don't think that sat as much as it does with me now.
So that's exactly why I want to ask you, like, what gave you the confidence and the belief that, yo, I could actually make a career out of this when you didn't grow up seeing a version of you?
I did not.
That's what I mean.
50% delusion and 50% desperation. As a kid, my world comprised of 2 places. Well, let's say 3. School, home, and the restaurant. Most of the time was at the restaurant. I already could see my whole world is this restaurant. And as a kid, I hated it. And not only just me, but I'm looking at my parents, I'm like, yo, they in here like slaving away, and we're not even really like, we're doing okay. We have a roof over our heads, and I don't even think I see that as a kid. I see it now. I'm like, yo, something gotta change.
Yeah.
So there's definitely—
But that something gotta change, I think in a lot of Asian community is like, yo, you get a job as a banker,
Yeah.
you become a lawyer, you
Yeah.
become a doctor, not a rapper. You know what I'm saying?
That's where the delusion comes in.
Right.
The delusion part is, you know, this is a combination of things, right? I think just as a kid, I was a dreamer.
Yeah.
Even as a kid. So by 15, the rap dream was already locked in. I think it's wrapped around the fact of just how much I loved it too.
Yeah.
That really is a huge part.
Yeah.
I was so infatuated, and I still am.
So one day you were freestyling, battling
Yeah.
in front of Fat Beats, and then, yo, 7 weeks, like, I don't know, 3 weeks later,
Yeah.
now you're like the face of Asian America.
Oh, damn.
Now people are rooting for you.
When
now,
you put it like that, I
You
was
know
about
what I'm
to
saying?
fall
Like,
out of my chair, but
you know
yes,
what I'm saying?
continue.
But during that 7-week period,
Yeah.
whether you knew it or not, that was kind of the position that you were put in all of a sudden.
Correct.
Did you have any sort of grasp of what that was? And even after,
When it's unfolding, as a 19-year-old approaching 20, like, what's going on in your mind? Do you even grasp what this all means? I can flat out say no. I'm very much present,
Were you
enjoying the
scared?
ride. There was no fear. I can say that for certain. I think I always looked at getting the record deal as the finish line. And I think if anything knocked me on my ass, was that was just the starting line. I'm going from being a Rough Rider fan with probably a fake double R chain at the Cash Money Rough Rider tour, somewhere in the 60th row. Yo, that's X, oh! Within the span of maybe 3 years later, I'm pulling out an R chain. That part right there is still like, sends chills down my spine talking about it. But I'm just saying, yo, a little Chinese kid had a dream to be a Rough Rider in Miami. And he did it.
Yeah.
And he did it in probably the grandest scale possible. On BET, pulling out a chain, right? Like, and as I sit here now, I have to remind myself, this thing that you're talking about is huge. And now I'll kind of close it all up with this, to this particular point. I for sure did not know at all what that meant to everybody watching it, Asian or not Asian. That part is very striking to me now in real time. That reach is something that I think, because my career did skew towards the Asian, the core, let's call them, right? Because they really championed me as the years went by. When I'll say it like this, when I kind of faded from that main spotlight, like the Asian community really held me down. And I'm not gonna say anything otherwise, because they did.
Rough Riders at the time, DMX was talking about, he wasn't even talking about selling drugs, he was just talking about robbing people.
Yes.
And especially in an era where it was all about braggadocio lyrics and all about thug adjacent culture. For you to participate in that group, was there ever a moment where you had any sort of like imposter syndrome?
No. Before I signed on anything, the conversations with the label were very encouraging. They were like, look, we just want you to be you. There was no imposter syndrome, only because I was able to stand very firmly in my skills. The higher you get, the more detractors you get. I know the work that I put in to get here. And just pulling out a chain and saying I'm Rough Riders now, it's definitely not by chance, and it's not coincidental, and there's no handouts here.
I do want to point out that you having a record called Learn Chinese at a time when half of the community that were rooting for you were confused and felt like it was a gimmick, whereas the other half was just genuinely excited that you were almost prophetic in that the rest of the world is going to
learn Chinese.
Want to learn Chinese.
I don't know if it was prophetic. I know how amped I was when Learn Chinese came out. That was my first single. That's the last time you saw me was freestyle battling on 106 in Park. Here's the joint. First line is, even before the beat drops, yeah, I'm Chinese, and what? To me, those two, I guess that one sentence really is more powerful than the song itself in a way, because I feel like what I'm trying to say is, and what? I'm proud of it, and I'm here doing this. On top of that though, I could get why someone would see a video of an Asian kid rapping and be like, yo, what's this?
You were like the proof of concept for a lot of Asian American folks that wanted to belong in hip hop, especially as a performer. Today, this culture moves instantly across TikTok, algorithmic silos. Do you believe this ideal of appreciation versus appropriation is almost a tired conversation for a generation of folks from the past?
I don't think so. I think it's still worth talking about, and it's still worth addressing when someone feels compelled to address it. You have to acknowledge that at this point, hip hop culture is definitely global, but you can't ignore the history of it. It did start in the Black and brown communities. I think it's because I grew up of that particular era that I still cling on to that. The heart of hip hop, it is about unity. It is about peace. It is about an outlet for those that are underprivileged and those that are looking for a vehicle to escape. That's the beauty of it, is that it is all embracing.
When younger Asian American artists, look back at your career now, what do you hope they actually understand about your journey beyond just the headlines?
This is more of a personal revelation. Is I think for so many decades, I was oblivious to one thing, and that is what I always thought was just my journey, was really our journey. And that kind of transcends the Asian American dynamic because, like I said, maybe me coming out on BET, it meant a lot to everyone, but it meant a lot to Asian Americans, right? Seeing something of that magnitude. It does shatter maybe a ceiling the ceiling was never there, but for the young Asian American kid watching it might have shattered it.
Right, it's always easier when you see an example.
Yeah, so all these years, what I thought was my journey, it was really our journey. And I'm just honored that I was able to be a part of your journey.
How would you describe this equation, Asian plus American?
Asian plus American equals mad flavors.
A lot of spices.
Yes.